Yes, evening all. Now, my next guest is an award-winning charity campaigner who's been involved in youth prevention projects for more than 2 decades. Nick Buckley birthed Mancunian Way out of the ashes of the 2011 Manchester riots, and he's since been awarded an MBE for his work with disadvantaged youngsters, particularly rough sleepers and gangs. But not even someone as selfless and admirable as Nick is safe from our callous cancel culture. That's right. After voicing concern about BLM's neo-Marxist policies, he was branded a racist by woke types, classic, who conveniently ignored his charity's work with thousands of black and Asian youngsters. Thankfully, after he was sacrificed by his bosses, common sense prevailed and Nick was reinstated. But he did learn a crucial lesson about the brainwashing power of our generation's new false prophets, BLM activists and eco-warriors, who drown out intellectual thought and conversations and some of society's more pressing issues, such as, an example, homelessness. Well, I'm pleased to say that the man himself is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Nick is joining me now. Nick, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, there's lots to get stuck into here, isn't there? Firstly, I'm, from near Manchester anyway, and homelessness in Manchester is absolutely nuts, by the way. You walk through Piccadilly Gardens, I've not seen anything like it. And actually, I think it's getting worse, not better, from my anecdotal evidence anyway. But are you concerned now that society is focusing on the wrong issues? We're talking about things like a big green agenda. We're talking about things like taking the knee. Hang on a minute. People are out on the streets, Nick.
We're concentrating on things that make me feel good and cannot be solved, so therefore I'm expected to do nothing anyway, apart from scream about how wonderful I am and how kind, considerate, compassionate I am. We just don't solve problems anymore in our country.
I agree with you completely. And doesn't it seem like an odd way to virtue signal, really? Because whilst people waste time tearing down statues and dragging them into a river, they're not actually enacting any practical change for people who are hungry and homeless, are they?
No, it's all about them. I mean, rough sleeping is extremely complicated. Most people think rough sleeping is about a lack of accommodation. It's got hardly anything to do with accommodation. It's to do with a mental health crisis compounded by cheap and easy drugs. That's why we have people on the streets. They're falling through all the safety nets. Over decades, this doesn't happen overnight. Over decades, they fall through all the safety nets. They fall out with the family, usually because they've stole from them. And then you go bang, 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 you end up on the streets. And then your life completely falls apart then. And that's when some real tough help is needed to support those people off the streets. So what do? What the general public do? Well, I'll tell you what we do. We'll give you a couple of quid so you can buy some more drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, I want your money. I'll buy you a meal deal. So here's a sandwich and a drink. I feel great. But that sandwich and a drink has now stopped that person going into the support centre around the corner to get a hot, healthy meal.
Tough, isn't it?
And it's only when they're in there can the support workers start working with them.
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough because, look, I must admit, I'm certainly, by the way, please don't anyone take this as me trying to say that I'm some kind of saint or martyr. I'm quite clearly, obviously not. But I do fairly regularly give either, a couple of quid or, drinking a sandwich hostess. And I always have that thing in my head of, have I done the right thing there? Because it sounds like a horrible thing to say, doesn't it? But actually, is by helping them in that sense actually not helping them?
Have you ever gone to A&E or gone to a cancer ward and just give a couple of quid out or given some sandwich to a cancer patient? Or do you think to yourself, oh, they need professional help to overcome what's wrong with them? Why would we think a sandwich or a couple of quid helps somebody with severe mental health issues?
Yeah, you're right. Now, I have an issue that's very close to my heart, which is homeless military veterans. Right now, I know there's homelessness, obviously, there's various different types of homelessness. That's an issue for me that I think is an absolute stain on our country and on our society. And I certainly don't want to make this an us and them issue and gratuitously rope in what's happening in the Channel or anything. But the fact is, we do seem to have housing a lot of the time for certain people who make their way over here. And in the meantime, we have a lot of homelessness in this country, and some of that homelessness is people who've actually served this country. How do you feel about that, Nick?
It's disgraceful, but we need to put it in context. Over the 5 years my project worked on the streets in Manchester city centre, we only ever came across 2 people who were genuine ex-forces.
Yeah.
The other 2 dozen who said they were ex-forces were found out within a 30-second conversation with him.
Yeah, they just
because
bought
one
some
of our
camo gear.
volunteers. Yeah, if you buy some camo gear, have a sign saying X-Forces, that pulls on your heartstring more than anything else. So some of it is, we call it a beggar's narrative. So to be a good beggar, you need a good story to pull on those heartstrings. So not everybody who tells you a story is telling you the truth.
Talk to me a bit about the actual cancel culture element of it, just kind of moving away a little bit from the homelessness stuff, really, which is, you fell victim to it. I mean, some people may not be aware of what happened to you. Do you want to just run us through that?
Sure. So it was June last year, the height of BLM. There was a protest that turned violent in London, and that's when I decided I don't know much about BLM. So I Googled it. I found their website, I read their website, and I went, oh, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know they were Marxists. I didn't know it was all based on some sort of postmodern theory. Defund the police, break up the nuclear family. And I thought, nobody knows about this. So I wrote a 600-word blog based on their website, published it. The world went crazy. Twitter said I was a Nazi. I had some
It's game over then, isn't it, Nick? Twitter's got involved,
Well, yeah.
That's that.
Well, Twitter got involved. I was a Nazi. Someone then set a petition up to have me fired. The board of the charity, and I appointed the board because I set this charity up. They panicked. They knew I wasn't a Nazi, but through cowardice, they decided to sack me over email. And then I decided, no, if you're going to sack me, I'm bringing you down with me. I'm not having this. So I mounted a fight back. And within 5 weeks, I made the whole board resign in disgrace. A new board was appointed and I got my job back.
Good lad. Well, long may it last. I could talk to you all evening about this, but I think it's a shining light, frankly. Can I just say, a good example, there's a lot of people, right, who, it's very often, isn't it? The people who walk around a lot of the time spouting whatever it is, the BLM stuff or whatever, say things, silence is violence. That seems to be one of their big slogans. Well, actually, a lot of people are very complicit in the kind of behaviour that nearly ended up in this chap, Nick, losing his job. And in that case, surely, silence is violence. We can't have it both ways. Nick, thank you very much. You're a good man. Stay strong. Nick Buckley there, of course, in Uncancelled. Right now, coming up...